Hey everyone, as promised, in today's video we're going to be going over all the menus and settings inside our new GoPrinter without any interruptions to show you everything that's available. So let's get into it. First thing I want to do is go through our settings list, and purely because I want to change the date that's here. And maybe the reason for that is due to the fact that if I'm going to be using this as a printer, the date here, I'll need to see that in real time while I'm inside maybe the warehouse, and I need to actually print something with the right date and the right time on it. So this being correct time and date is something that is necessary depending on what you're printing. So let's go into our settings, and we can now see time is the first thing that we have here. So let's go ahead and start changing our date. So just going to backspace here, and we're going to go and put in 2025. So we say OK. Then we move over to our month, which will be 05. And then from there, we're going to go to our date, which is the 23rd. Okay, so now let's move over to our time. And the time right now is 9 o'clock. So we'll go 09. And it is 41 minutes past. As you can see there, you don't actually have to push the backspace. You can just start typing. Now, for those that want to have an accurate seconds, go ahead and put it in. Otherwise, just if you don't know it, put 0. Okay, so now that we've done that, we can go back out of there and have a look. There we go. It is correct. Today is Friday, and that is the time and date. Let's go back into our settings. From here, we're going to go into File Manager, and we're going to click on File Manage. And here we can see is our user disk. Now, this is the internal memory on this actual GoPrinter, and it just shows you how much we've used or how much we have left. In this case, it's only 0.1 of a meg, and we've got nothing actually stored on the GoPrinter itself. Otherwise, it would show you some files going down here. Or it would show you, if you have your USB connected, it would show you over here what is on that memory stick. From here, we're going to go back out again, and we're going to go now to our sensor. Now, this sensor is an attachment that you can attach to this printer so that you can do sequential printing, and the sensor will pick up the item as it's going underneath the printer, and then the printer will print. Now, that is for batch printing, where the printer itself is mounted permanently and you're not holding it via hand, and it just continuously prints. So this is where you can switch it on and off and encode it. From here, we're going to go to information. As you can see here, we've got check for update, the manufacturer's information, the output clearing, I'm assuming, which is how many times you've actually printed, which is over here. And then your factory model, this is number 8888, our software, and about. Now, obviously, if you want to know more, just go ahead and click on those items. Let's go to our setting. Now, our first option is ketone. Now, that obviously is the noise that it makes every time that you click on something. So let's go ahead and click back again. And as you can see, there's no noise. So if you don't want this clicking noise on, then switch it off. Otherwise, have it on so that you can hear that you've clicked on something. This is also important to have on, in my opinion, so that you can actually hear when you pull the trigger and activate to print. Because sometimes if you don't pull the trigger 100%, and you do it half-cocked, then you don't actually get to know if you've activated the printer. You move your GoPrinter to the side like you're supposed to, and nothing comes out. So it's good to have that noise on. Now, if you are going to be someone that's going to fiddle around with this thing and make mistakes, and you make a terrible mistake, then you can always go back ahead and push restore and bring this back to factory settings. Then our next item here is calibrate. Now, this is something that we'll get back to a little bit later, in fact, maybe in another video. And this is if you have your cartridge in, and we'll have to go through that with a fine-tooth comb to see how we can calibrate this machine. Now we've got our screen off. That basically is how long you want your screen to be idle before it just switches off so it saves battery. So you can go ahead and input 30 seconds, 90 seconds, however you want. And that's basically the time that it's going to sit here without you touching the screen or even clicking on the trigger to print. It basically just switches off the screen. So we're going to leave that as it is. Next we have user management. Now, if you are someone that wants to lock this GoPrinter as an admin and you want to prevent people from changing certain things, so if you have multiple users, as you can see, you can create multiple users with different passwords so that they can use certain functions on this printer and not use other functions that may prevent them from doing their work, or you don't want them to do it, so you can lock them to do certain things in here. As you can see, you can create a password, give the person a name, enable that profile, and then also allow them to do certain things. For instance, if you want to prevent them from doing certain things like editing or printing, or if you have a preloaded file and they can only go ahead and change the date and a batch number, then this is where you allow them to do it. So again, if you're wanting them to have lock on and not do certain things, then you're going to create them a profile. And what's interesting is you can have up to 5 users on this as well as the administrator. That is quite good in terms of functionality. And now we've got others, which is our last menu here. Now, of course, we've got a language option, so we can go ahead and change this to a language that we prefer. And for me, I'm going to leave it as English because that's who I am. However, you have a multitude of different options. Now, our input format is routine. I'm assuming that you have all of these other options in terms of language, which is your input language on your keyboard, not just your language for viewing the different options on this printer. So just keep in mind that this might be a bit different in terms of when you're inputting your language and typing what you want to print versus what you're reading. Okay, so from here, we've already explored our settings, but I want to go to File next. So now obviously we saw this within our settings menu, and you also have it on the main page. Now this is where you're going to manage, either delete or copy from your memory stick over to your main storage, which is here. And then that allows you to keep using the same files to reprint for work every single day. Either that you need to change something, you'll go in here, remove one item, add another one so that they can continue printing. And this is a nice, unique way of managing the files, and you'll be able to read them quite clearly as well. From here, we need to go and actually make ourselves something to print before we just go to print. So let's go ahead to edit. Okay, so now that we are here, we're just going to go from the top to the bottom on what our options are, without going and fiddling with it too much. We just want to show you what it is capable of. Okay, so the first thing that we have here at the top is our test file. Now you can click on that, and then what this does allow you to do is that you can obviously see the whole thing, not a cut up version of it. It also can show you the size of which you have typed out this letter or letters, and in this case, as you can see, it is actually bigger than the area that you can print. This grayed out area here is the area that you can not print into. So at the moment right now, this AM is too big for the size area that we're printing. So what do you do with that knowledge? Well, we need to now make it smaller. So having a look at what's available here, this is obviously back our viewfinding percent, so I'm assuming we could change that so that we could see more letters if it was a longer print, or obviously less if it's smaller, or zoom in all the way. Now what we can do is also move our print with these arrows. If we don't want it to start on the first millimeter, we want it to skip a bit and then print some, then you can move it accordingly. Keep in mind, you can also move this around with your stylus just by holding down on it and then moving it around. Okay, from there we can also go ahead and lock it off on where it is so that you can't move it around, and that's where it permanently stays. Or you could go and center it in the middle, and that would mean that it is being centered to the top of the page and center of your words, not the center of where it's printing. Keep in mind, if you're wanting to move it back again, you can just go ahead and make sure that you've selected it, clicking on it, unlock it, and take it away from being center, and it's back where it was. And then you could go back to 100% zoom so you can see it again. Now, before we leave out of this menu, you've got to make sure that this is within its print area. So we're just going to move it back to where it is in the beginning and make sure that it's within this white rectangle area and not coming outwards. And then our next settings that we have here, it looks to be rotate to the right or rotate to the left. So if you're wanting to rotate it, you can just go ahead and rotate it however you're wanting to. And then our last bit of settings here looks to be a bigger and a smaller, so that you can make it accordingly to the size that you're wanting. And at the same time, you've got yourself a ruler measurement so that you can actually see accurately on how big this is going to print, and it's not a thumb suck measurement. Okay, so now that we are finished here, we can just go and push back. So now that we fiddled with our first setting here, which was just clicking on the file itself, we have at the top here a plus and a minus again. So again, this is our edit settings. So we can just go ahead and either minus or plus, again, if you're wanting to make it bigger. From there, we're going to move over to text. Why? Because we want to possibly change our text or maybe type something else. So we can also go ahead and do symbols as well, and we've got a vast array of different symbols available. And that is quite nice because you don't know exactly what you're going to be printing. And again, you can print on almost any surface depending on your cartridge. So you have a range of different things that you can use to actually print. So we can go ahead and add, different symbols. So there's one, and we can just leave off caps or put caps on, and we can say hi, and then we can go back to symbol and we put it on the other side. And now that we're finished, we can just go ahead and push enter. Enter will probably mean to move to the next line, or we can say we're done. So I'm going to get rid of enter and I'm going to say okay, save. Now, as you can see, it's added it to the right hand side of our original artwork that we have. So if you're wanting to see this in full, we just go back to that setting on the top there, and we can then zoom out a bit and see what we are printing on this page. Now that I've got both of them there, maybe you want both of them, but let's say you didn't want the AM. So we just click on it, make sure it's selected, and you push delete. Now it's gone. Now what we can do is concentrate on the artwork that we have. So let's go ahead and move it. Oops. Okay, so it can't go any more that way. Let's go ahead and zoom out a bit, and let's make it a bit smaller so we can fit it within our page. And there we have it. Now that I'm done, I'm just going to push back. So as you can see, you can go ahead, change it when and if you need to, and just by if you want text, or we can go and add a date, and we can also add a term. So if you want it to be day, month, or year, or we click a format that we are looking for in terms of how you want it to lay out the actual date format. So you've got a multitude of different options here, and just click the format that you are needing. I'm just going to go ahead and click on the one that I normally like using, and I'm going to leave it as a year. Let's do 1. And as you can see, it's now added a year as well. So I'm going to click on this one, and I want to subtract the size. Okay, so as we can see, it's actually added a year to the year that we are in already. If that makes any sense to you, as we have a 2025 date there, I added only 1 year term to it, which means almost like an expiry. You're adding, let's say, 2 years or 3 years, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it expires in 10 days. Then you can go and adjust that term. Like I did, I pushed 1 year and added 1 year to the original date, which means it will add 1 year to 2025, and that's exactly what it's done. So that's what that setting can do for you. So I don't need that right now. I'm going to go ahead and push delete. Again, I'm only wanting the high at this point. From there, we're going to go ahead and push more. Now, this is even more options than we had before in terms of what we can make to print. So, first things first, an image. Now, that image is something that we would have to load in via memory stick, and you have to also make sure that you use the correct format to use the image function. And again, you must make sure that it's a black and white image, otherwise you're not going to get a successful print because it only has one color in its cartridge. And that color also is dependent on which cartridge you put in. From here, we've also got symbols. Now, these are, like you see, your registered trademark symbol, and we're going to go ahead and click on that. And we can obviously load more symbols. This is, I'm assuming, for packaging on boxes. So we've got, obviously, do not break. This is glass. This way up. Again, do not break. It can't be rained on. It can't be in the sun. So there's a few options that you have here available. From there, we can obviously do a barcode as well. Now, this is dependent on your actual barcode itself. Either it's an EN 13, 14, all the way up to 25. You can just go ahead and add your barcode. It will then generate the correct lines accordingly. Now we've got our number. Now, this is if you're doing serial numbers for batch printing. So either you use the same serial number across the entire batch, or you can obviously do it in sequential order, a maximum value of 9,999 in terms of serial number, and your minimum value and your current value. So if you're currently on, let's say 50, then you put 50 here, and then the next one it will go 60, and you can either skip it in 2s, 3s, repeat it. There's so many different options here that allows you to do sequential serial number printing, which is very important to a printer like this, which then can print onto any packaging depending on your cartridge. Again, as soon as you push yes, it's going to put the first serial number there. So we don't want that. We're going to push delete. From there, we got table. Now, table is obviously making a table of contents. We can go ahead and enter some values, and then this will actually print the table out onto whatever you're wanting to print. So for instance, if you're wanting this as a table of ingredients or a percentage, values that you want to add in, you just type them into each block, say that you want that many blocks, and it will show up here and you can print it. Okay, and then lastly, we've got a line here. We've got TXT file, Excel, remote data, remote picture, and paragraph. Now, all of these options here allow you different types of files that you can load via USB to print on this thing. So it allows you a TXT file, which is uncommon. An Excel file. So if you've typed in data on Excel and you've made a table via your computer instead of doing the table on the printer, then you have more options in terms of what it can look like, how many SKUs you can add, and obviously it's an infinite row to the right. Every single time that you print, you can add as much as you want to the right and continuously print. So all of these options will be imported via USB, which gives you more options to play with the printer. Okay, then we have got our last option here, which is edit. And again, edit is, as we saw earlier, you've got multiple places you can actually edit your text in. You can go ahead and edit it at test at the top there. Again, this test file name here is the name of the file. So if you've saved a file on there that says pizza and you click on that pizza file in the file menu, which is down here on the bottom left. Then it will bring up that pizza file, and then you can go ahead and edit that again. From here, if you are happy with everything, you just go ahead to print. Obviously, you need a cartridge in so that you can start printing. And that's basically it for this menu, and this allows you to edit, print all in one, and that's all the menus that we can see on this printer. Okay guys, now that you've seen everything you possibly could in terms of our settings menu and everything that you need to edit, what you need to do now is keep your eyes peeled for our upcoming videos, because we are going to be showing you everything to do with real life printing in situations that you use every single day, like sequential printing. And then in another video after that, we're going to be going ahead and doing our Epic cartridge and everything that goes along with it, including our Bluetooth menu as well as calibration. So like I've said before, if you need to see these videos, then you need to go ahead and click the bell icon, click subscribe, and I'm not so sure if you haven't why you're wasting your time. Please go ahead and do so, and we'll see you in the next one.
AI may eventually take over, but what's for certain is that smart machines are already operating all over the world right now. So stay ahead with AM.CO.za. For 11 years, they've been the leader in CNC and printing machines like CNC routers, large format printers, vinyl cutters, laser cutters, plasma cutters, DTF printers, and many more. Visit am.co.za showrooms in Sunny Rock, Joburg, and Montague Gardens, Cape Town, or WhatsApp hi to 060 600 6000 for more info. am.co.za. Achievement matters.